What's up, everybody? This is Brad. Welcome to Sports Magazine Collector. Today, we're going to do a very brief tutorial on how to submit magazines to CGC. All right, guys, so I've had several requests in the past few weeks to submit a video that helps people walk through the process of submitting magazines to CGC. And understandable, it definitely can be, somewhat of a daunting task the very first time if you're unfamiliar. So let's go ahead and just do a quick walkthrough here. First off, CGC, it is the #1 grading company as far as comics and sports magazines or magazines of any type. There are several other comic grading options out there. But CGC is definitely the most reputable. As far as sports magazines, Sports Illustrated, CGC is really the only option that I'm aware of. At least it's definitely the only reputable option. So first thing you need to know is come over here to the CGC website, that's cgccomics.com, and you're going to need to create an account. You have to join with CGC. So let's go over here and let's select join. And it's going to bring up the different options and the different tiers. There are 4 different options here. The first one is actually being free. But if you go with the free option, you really cannot submit anything to CGC. The only way you could get something graded is if you submitted to the CGC Signature Series private signings, which that really caters much more towards comic books, because at this time CGC really isn't doing anything with Signature Series on the Sports Illustrated side of things. So you're going to want to look at these other options, starting with Associate, $25. And you do get full submission privileges if you join this level. So you can pay $25. That's for 1 year to become a CGC member. And then you can go ahead and pretty much submit your unlimited amount of magazines to be graded that you would like to do. So if you only have, I don't know, a couple, maybe that's the option you want to do. But I would encourage you to take a look at least the premium for $149 a year. And here's why. If you take a look at this at the bottom, if you join this tier, you get a $150 credit with CGC. So basically that $150 or so that you would pay to join this premium level, you're going to get back in free credits to submit some magazines to be graded. So that is probably the most popular level to join. That's the level that I joined at, and I highly encourage it because you get a free $150 worth of credit to send in your first few magazines. You could also take a look at the elite level. It's $299, so that's $150 more. The only difference between premium and elite is that with the elite, you're going to get 10% off of your different grading tiers. And so let's go ahead and take a look at the grading tiers and the prices to see what that looks like. All right, so here we are at the CGC services and fees page. So this page is going to give you detail on how much it costs to submit a magazine, depending on which tier you want to go through. Now, it does say here there's going to be a couple other fees, $5 handling fee, $8, that's for online submissions, $8 handling fee per invoice that applies to paper submissions. So keep that in mind. We're going to scroll down here. It starts off with comics, so we're going to keep moving past that. And then we get to the magazine. So this is what you want to look at, and you can see the different tiers. So the primary tiers that are used are going to be these first 2 options. You've got your modern, which is going to be anything from 1975 to current. And then you have economy, which is 1974 and earlier. And these are your 2 cheapest tiers. So for anything 1975 to current, it's going to be $32 per magazine to send that in to be graded. And then that jumps up to $42 if you have to go economy, which would be pre-1975. Now, I would encourage you to keep magazine submissions together based on the tier. So for example, don't send in, several 1980s modern issues together in the same batch with several 1960s economy issues. You can, but CGC is going to break it up into 2 separate invoices. They're going to treat it as 2 separate orders, and it's going to get shipped back to you in separate boxes, which means you're going to pay twice the shipping. So I would encourage you to group together pre-1975 issues into one order, and then group together modern issues into one order. It also shows you the workaround time, or the turnaround time. So this is how many days until you can expect to get your magazine back. Now, these obviously are not exact. There's going to be some wiggle room, probably a month or two in either direction. Could be quicker, could be longer. And you also need to note that this is working days. 216 working days is the current turnaround time for both modern and economy. So that is approximately 43 weeks, which is about 10 months. So right now, if you submit through one of these two cheapest tiers, you're looking at about 10 months to get your magazine back. Now let's jump back real quick. We looked at the different options as far as joining CGC. And I encourage you that premium level at 149 probably going to be your best bet in most cases. If you want to do the elite, remember that's $150 extra. Now that you see what these prices are per magazine, the 42 and the 32, well, you can do a little bit of simple math to determine whether or not that elite version is better for you. So basically, if you're going to send in 47 or more modern magazines at $32 a piece in a single year, that's your threshold of where the elite version would be worth it for you, as opposed to just doing the premium. Like I said, I joined the premium. I didn't really see myself sending in more than 47 a year. Turns out I have, so I probably would have been better going with the elite, but that's okay. Just so you know, that's kind of the threshold of where it would make more sense to go elite, is if you think you're going to send in more than 47 issues in a single year. Now, let's also look that there are a couple faster options if you're not wanting to wait 10 full months, which I don't blame you. Standard option is $85 per issue, and that's going to get it back in a little bit over a month. Now, once again, that is 34 business days, so may even be closer to 2 months, but you can get your issues faster, $85. And so if you were going to be sending everything in standard, that would only be 18 issues that you would need to send in a single year to make that elite level more worth it. And then lastly, there's the walkthrough option as well. That's if you want something back almost immediately, and you're going to get that back in probably a week or two. What they will usually do is they'll charge you $150 on the walkthrough for Sports Illustrated. Now, with comics, I think that they actually do determine 3% of fair market value. But with Sports Illustrated and sports magazines, there are not as many sales and comps out there. So I haven't seen CGC do that yet. They're pretty much going to charge you $150 for a walkthrough issue to get it back in a week or two. Also of note is max value per item. I know that's a question that a lot of people ask. How do you determine what your value is? Well, CGC really isn't doing that. Like I said, maybe they do that on the comic side. I'm really not that familiar with that. But at least on the Sports Illustrated side, there's not a price guide out there. There haven't been enough sales, I think, to even have a realistic idea of what market value is on most issues. So these numbers are pretty much for insurance purposes only. So this $400 of max value on both the modern and the economy levels, that's basically the max amount of insurance that you could put on your magazine. So keep that in mind when you're submitting your magazines. A lot of times I'll put 400 as the max on all the issues that I send in, just so that I make sure that I'm covered as far as insurance in case anything were to happen. So keep that in mind as well. There are a couple other options on here for magazines. Reholder. So if you want to send in a magazine that's already been graded and maybe the holder's broken, you want to get it regraded, put in a new capsule, a new slab. Just understand that if you do that, you are not guaranteed to get back the same grade that you had before. So this is basically a quick walkthrough of the different prices and the different options to send your magazines. Now, once you've made the decision of which tier you're going to send through, you want to actually enter a submission form. So if you scroll back up to that page we were just looking at that lists the service and fees, you can access the submission forms here. But regardless of where you are on the CG website, you can also go to the Submit tab and choose Submission Form. So we're going to select that right here. And once you go to that, it's going to bring you kind of to your own page where you can check the status of your current submissions. You can look at packing slips. But if you scroll down, this is where you can find the online forms for the different types of submissions. So obviously right now we're looking at magazines. So I'm going to select this submission form here. It's going to bring us to another page. Once again, you can see all of your previous submissions here. So I've got a list of others that I've sent down below, but we're going to hit start new order to go ahead and fill out this submission form. All right, very first thing that we see here, select collectible type. So we're going to go magazine in this instance, and then it's going to ask submission type. You're most often going to choose regular grading submission. Signature series is only to do with autographs. I've never dealt with that. Like I said, that's pretty rare on the Sports Illustrated side. That applies more to comics. Okay, primary service. Typically, if you're submitting something to be graded, that's what you're going to choose. There are some different options here. Pressing, we'll talk about in just a minute. But for this video, we're going to go ahead and select grading. And it's going to ask you to consent to their waiver, their customer consent agreement. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, we're going to scroll down from here, and this is where we will select our tier, what level we want to send our magazines in. So let's say we've got some really nice vintage issues, Sports Illustrated from the 50s and 60s. Since those are pre-75, we're going to select economy and scroll down. A couple add-ons. You can get some high-resolution images. Pre-screening services are available. Let's say that we don't want those, and let's go ahead and select Add Magazine. All right, once that page loads up, we've got our online submission form where we can actually search and add our magazines. Now, when you are searching for Sports Illustrated magazines, you're not going to be able to search by the person on the cover. You need to basically search by the date or the issue number. But for me, it's always easiest to search the date. So let's just say we want to do, I don't know. Let's go. First off, we'll go ahead and start with Sports Illustrated because there are lots of other publications in here. We're going to do Sports Illustrated, and let's say November 1959. And okay, here we go. So let's say this was the one we wanted, November 16th, 1959. I have no clue what that issue is. You know, we could Google it and see who's on the cover, but you're going to know by looking on your cover of your magazine, or at least on the inside cover, what issue you have. So find it and select it. And we got our quantity, declared value. Like I said, a lot of times I'm just going to go ahead and select 400 just because that's the max. And I'll hit add magazine. And then if you actually scroll down a little bit, you can see you've got your cart starting to fill up. I got the $42 fee. It's got that $5 online handling fee that we looked at earlier. And then it'll allow me to look more up. Now, what I noticed when I searched Sports Illustrated November 1959 is this November 16th issue is apparently the only issue from that month that has been sent in to be graded. So there were a couple other issues that month that have never been graded. So let's say you've got one and that's the case, it's not popping up. That's because one has never been graded before. So you can click, I can't find my magazine, and then you can kind of type in the information on your own. Sports Illustrated, the publisher would be Time, the issue number, the date, and then if there's any extra detail, and then you can hit add magazine, and then that would show up in your cart as well. Now, another thing to note when you are submitting Sports Illustrated issues is make sure you know if it's a subscription or a newsstand. So you can see here I started searching 1964 January Sports Illustrated, and whatever this January 20th issue was, there have obviously been some subscription issues submitted. And so if I had a subscription issue, I would want to select that. But if I had a newsstand issue, I would want to make sure I would want to make sure to select this one right here that does not say subscription edition. Now, of course, many times we can't be 100% sure if it's a newsstand or a subscription. If you think that it's a newsstand, but you're not sure, once again, I would go ahead and select this one that does not say subscription. And then if it is a subscription, if CGC detects that there was a label removed, then they'll go ahead and notate that on the slab, and they'll move your magazine into the pop report under the subscription edition. Okay, so I've got 2 issues submitted in my cart. Let's say that's all that I'm wanting to submit for today. Got a total of $89. So I'm going to go ahead and select review cart. And it's going to bring me to the review page. And so I'll scroll down here and you can, collapse or expand this and just confirm that you've got the correct dates, the correct issues. And basically now you can select your shipping method. So I'm going to choose shipping method. And then here you can select how you want it to be shipped. So CGC did just literally last week release this new option where you can prepay. I haven't done that yet, but that's probably a pretty good option. You can prepay for shipping and it will allow you to actually print out your shipping label ahead of time, which has not been the case before. This has been the option I've always previously used, ship on your own. And so I'll just go ahead and select that for now. Choose return shipping. And so if you choose to ship on your own, it's going to bring you to this page at the top. It's going to have you enter in your address and your return address information. And I've chosen to ship with CGC. You can also select some other carrier options, but shipping with CGC is typically the safest bet. And then you can choose, ground service or overnight. I've always just selected ground, and then you would enter payment and you would move on there. And so once you have submitted your payment, what's going to happen next is it's going to pull up a packing slip for you. And so what you're going to want to do, this is an example here of a packing slip. You're going to want to print off a copy of that, and then you're actually going to put that packing slip inside your box that you send to CGC on top of your issues. Now, understand that when you submit payment, you're not going to be charged immediately. You will be charged by CGC once they actually receive your magazines. So I know that's a little bit different from like maybe sports card grading. If you're familiar with grading with PSA or some of the different sports cards companies, they often will not charge you until after your items have already been graded. But CGC will charge you as soon as they receive your magazine. So, for example, we mentioned earlier that the turnaround time is about 10 months right now for those lower tiers. And you're going to pay as soon as they receive those issues, even though you're probably not going to get those issues back for 10 months or so. So just be aware of that as far as when they actually charge your card. All right, a couple more notes about finalizing this shipment. So we mentioned pressing earlier, and for those that don't know what pressing is, it's really important. I would recommend pressing just about every single issue that you have before you send it to CGC. That's going to help you get a higher grade. So pressing is basically when you take a magazine and you put it in a hot press, almost like a t-shirt type press machine that clamps down, and it's going to help flatten your magazine. It's going to help take out some creasing, some waving, and it's really going to improve the just the display and the potential grade that you can receive. It's a totally acceptable form of trying to improve your grade. So highly, highly encourage that you get your magazines pressed. And as you saw, CGC does offer their own pressing service. I don't know that I would personally recommend it, mainly because it's going to add a lot of wait time, potentially even double the wait time, to where if you're waiting 10 months just for your magazine to be graded, you could potentially be waiting another 10 months for your magazine to be pressed. I've also heard multiple horror stories about people submitting their magazines into CGC to be pressed and getting them back and realizing that they were never pressed at all, and it being very obvious. And then they have to resubmit it again and either ask for a refund or wait another lengthy amount of time for CGC to actually go ahead and press it. So personally, I press my own issues. I've taught myself how to do it. There are lots of videos out there, primarily from comic book collectors, on how to press a magazine and purchase your own equipment. Or there's also lots of private individuals or private companies that can do some pressing for you as well. Maybe check with your local comic book store and see if they have that service available. So definitely want to press your issues if you're going to get the highest possible grade. Okay, as far as actually packaging your items, I'm not going to actually visually show you step by step. There are other videos out there as well that can show you that. I think CGC even has a couple on their website. But first off, you're going to want all of your issues to be bagged and boarded. I use BCW, very popular company that makes these bags and boards. So here's a package of the bags. This is what one of the single bags looks like, kind of one of these clear sleeves here that you can slide the magazine into. And then this is what the board itself looks like. You set the magazine on the board, slide it into the sleeve. This is what it looks like once it has been fully bagged and boarded. There's the back. Highly recommend using painter's tape, not scotch tape. Scotch tape will be hard to remove. Painter's tape, very easy to remove, doesn't leave residue, but still keeps it pretty secure in there. So you want to bag and board all of your issues, stack them. I would not recommend doing more than, I prefer to stack 5 at a time. You can maybe do up to 10. Definitely would not go any more than that. And use, once again, painter's tape to kind of secure that stack of magazines to each other. And then you're going to put some cardboard on both the top and the bottom. So you want a piece of cardboard that's just a little bit oversized, a little bit bigger than those magazines. And once again, use painter's tape to secure that cardboard on the top and the bottom to kind of protect those magazines. So they're not going to be moving around, and so that they're going to stay underneath the perimeter of that cardboard box. Stick that stack with your 2 cardboard pieces into your box. Use some bubble wrap or, filler peanuts or whatever. Make sure that it's not going to be, sliding around in there. Some of these mail carriers can be kind of, they don't know what's in there, and your magazines will definitely get damaged if you don't package them very carefully and make sure they're not sliding around in there. And from there, seal it up really well with packaging tape and send it off. And you are on your way to getting your first magazines graded by CGC. All right, guys, that's it. Good luck with your grades. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate likes, subscribes, comments, and until the next video, see you guys next time.